Okay guys, so in today's video I actually want to talk about some life lessons or lessons that I learned in my 20s, or lessons that or things that I wish I did differently in my 20s. So it's like a mixture of both things that I've learned and also things that I wish that I had known and things that I wish that I had done differently.
Bye.
Hey lovelies, welcome back to the channel. I am so very happy to have you guys here for today's video. I have been wanting to do this video since last month, but because I already had pre-recorded all my content, I did not get a chance to record this video, but I'm so happy that I'm able to do so today. So before we jump into today's video, if you have not yet subscribed, please be sure to go ahead and do so now and enable all post notifications so you never miss any of my videos. So yeah, let's get started. So I have my little notes here to keep me on track. So today I'll be talking about five topics. These topics will be financial lessons, relationship lessons, spiritual lessons, life lessons, and career lessons. So I think we're gonna start off with spiritual lessons because that to me hit me the hardest in my 20s. So in terms of spiritual lessons, my biggest spiritual lesson that I learned in my 20s was to have more faith in God. And I'm gonna explain everything that I mention and what I mean. I'm gonna give examples, right? So in my 20s, even before then, I knew God, I knew his work, I knew his wonders, I knew him as a person, and I've always felt like I had faith in him, and it wasn't until I hit about 26 or 27 thereabout, I realized that even though I love God, I really didn't have that much faith in him. And so it was when I was at my lowest. Like, I believe that this was the lowest point in my life. It was in March of 2017 when I was fired from my job, a job that I was super excited to get, and I was looking forward to being there. And I got fired, not because of anything that I did, but if you want a story time on that, I can definitely give you one, so let me know down below. So when I got fired, I was at home, I was stressed out, I had bills to pay, I had a child to feed, and I was earning no income. I was home for an entire month. And I was like on the phone the day I got home. Like literally, I started bawling before I even left out of the building. I bawled from work my entire way home. I bawled that night, the weekend. I was just consistently crying. And I called my best friend, and she's kind of one of my roots, my rock. And I was having a conversation with her about what happened. And she was like, babes, just let it go. It happened already. You can't change it. You have no control over it. So just let it go. And I had other things in my life and other emotions inside that I was holding on to. And I took her advice and I let everything go. And ever since then, it's just been uphill from there. I've never looked back. And if I had had faith in God when that happened that day, then I would have known that he was preparing me for something much greater, something that would help me much more than this job could ever help me, and I was just blind. I could not see beyond that salary that I was earning because this was a step from my previous salary. But I don't want to talk too much about that. As I said, if you want a story time on that, I would definitely do so. So my spiritual lesson definitely in my 20s is having more faith in God. I'm going to move on to career lessons. All right, so we grew up in a society where it tells us that we need to be what we need to be by a certain age. Like, you need to know that you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer or a hairstylist or a fashion designer. Time is of the essence. And something that I've learned is that you don't always have to know. Like, even when I graduated high school and I was looking forward to do my degree, I changed my mind so many times in terms of what field I wanted to do my bachelor's degree in until I finally made a decision. Life doesn't always happen the way how we want it to, in the order that we want it to. Life will happen in the way how God intended it to, the way how he wrote our story. We need to just dispel that notion that you need to know what you want to do before you leave high school. No, you don't have to. And not achieving everything by the time you're 29. So it's fine. You can always do something different or change your career field, or your passion might change. Your interest also changes as time go on. So you don't always have to know what you want to do in terms of your career in your 20s. I didn't even find my passion until I was 30. Until I was 30. When I turned 30 and I got this current job that I'm in now, that's when I realized what I really wanted to do, which is funny enough because I always had it in the back of my mind that I wanted to do this. Even when I was doing my degree, my bachelor's, I wanted to switch to do, marketing, and I didn't, but everything happens for a reason. All right, we're gonna move on to relationship lessons. So relationship lessons has to do with friendship and a relationship, right? They're both relationships. And so I've always been big on observing people, right? I don't like to fool myself into thinking that people are who they say they are. I like to see people for who they actually are. But I have made mistakes in terms of relationship and friendship in my 20s, and that has ultimately made me more aware now. So whenever I see people pretending, it's easier for me to pick up on those little cues earlier than I would have, because I got fooled. Trust me, as smart as I believe that I am, I got fooled. In terms of friendship and relationship, I would say red flags. Red flags, they tend to not go away. Don't find excuses or make excuses for people who treat you like crap, or people who talk things behind your back. Believe them for who they are. Trust them when they show you that I'm a bitch. If they show you that, then that's who they are. So believe them and don't think and make excuses for people. In terms of friendship, you don't have to be popular, sweetie. You don't have to be popular. You don't have to be known. Popularity doesn't pay the bills, and popularity doesn't take you to the bank. So don't try to fit in with the crowd or with people. Always be true to yourself and always show your individuality. We are not all created the same. We don't have the same parents or the same ethnicity, or we don't come from the same background. So why should we want to be the same as other people? Be true to yourself and stay true to yourself is what I would say to you guys. Another thing I would say is to protect your energy. Your energy is, and I'm so big on energy, like I feed off people's energy. So something that I wish I knew is how important my energy is when I was in my 20s, and how important it is to protect that energy and not let every and anyone have access to that energy. I am not typically a friendly person, but I'm a very sociable person, and I can strike up a conversation with you if needs be. But I'm not gonna go out of my way to be friends with anyone. That's not me. That has never been me, and that will never will be me. But I have allowed people access to my energy in my 20s that did not deserve it. So I would say protect your energy. Don't share everything with everyone, whether it be your man's, your best friend. Some things you have to keep to yourself. Here in Jamaica, we have a little saying that when you make too many people know your business, it tends to not work out, right? So sometimes you gotta keep some things to yourself until it's time to share. For example, when I was buying my house, my closest friends were like my sister. I only told like one person that I was doing this. I didn't tell anybody else because I wanted it to go through, and I really just wanted to share the good news. So it wasn't like I don't think my friends would think negatively of me or what I was doing. That is not the case. I just wanted to show up and say, surprise, I did this, that was just my whole vision. But not everyone is like that. Some people will take your business and spread it. And as they also say, your best friend has a best friend. So your business is not going to stay with you, sweetie. Knowing your worth and not settling for less than what you deserve is another thing that I would say I have learned in my 20s. I have been in a relationship where I thought that it would have worked out but it didn't, and I ended it. And I ended it because I didn't think that I was getting value for myself in that relationship. So again, I mentioned red flags and they don't go away, so you just have to pay attention to friendships and relationships. I've only ever lost one friend since I've known myself, one friend, and I let her know straight up, like, we are not friends, we are no longer friends. Blocked, deleted on all platforms. Bye. Don't want to see you again. Sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you have to let people know that, listen, you are gone and you ain't coming back. Another thing I would have said about my 20s is that even if a relationship or a friendship doesn't work out, it's life. It happens. We're just gonna pick up the pieces and we're just gonna move on. And the final thing I would say about relationship is just follow your heart. Just follow your heart and what you feel is best. Sometimes our head can be a little bit harder to get through to, a little tough, but the heart is a more softer spot. So just follow your heart and what your heart is telling you, what to do. And if something feels wrong, stop it. And if it feels right, continue. Even though not everything that feels right is right. And that's why you have to pay attention to those red flags. And you have to be true to who you are. All right, so I'm going to move on now to finance lessons. When I was in my 20s, and I mean like my early to my mid 20s, I was a broke bitch. Like, I ain't even gonna lie, I was broke as hell. I had a loan paying back, I had credit card, I had a child raised with no father. I was broke, but lessons that I've learned financially and that I wish that I knew in my 20s is that you need to do your research on becoming financially literate, right? So not because you're earning $1, it means you cannot save. In Jamaica, again, we have a saying, and how much you earn, how much you save, which basically means it's not how much you earn, it's how much you save. Or you can be earning $10 and you save $1 out of every paycheck. It makes a difference. So I just told myself I was broke in my 20s, and I just held on to that. Like, you're broke, you can't do this, right? And again, fear was another driving factor for me. Like, I was so fearful. I let fear get the better of me. Guys, do not let fear get the better of you. Sometimes we think we cannot afford to do something, and in reality we can. And how do you know that you are able to afford this? You have to do your research. You have to speak to people who are older than you, people who are younger than you. Knowledge is something that has no age limit. Do your research, go on the internet, find out all the details, things that you wanted to know. I really wanted to buy a plot of land when I was in my 20s, my early 20s, and I was just so fearful to say, I can't afford it, and I held on to that. And I don't think about it as much now, but I do have some type of regret in terms of limiting myself in that capacity. Another thing I wish I knew financially was that invest a little. Investments are a big thing right now, stocks and bonds, and I wish I had again done my research and just one cocoa full basket, just did that. Just if I had 10,000, I wish I would have invested it. If I had 5,000, I wish I would have saved it to put towards an investment. Just things like those I really wish that I had known in my 20s. And again, fear was just taking the better of me, This is something that I knew when I was in my 20s, and this is something that I would recommend to you if you are in your 20s. It is okay to be broke for a season in order to achieve something greater. So it's okay to miss out on going out to eat, going out to an event, hanging with your friends, if it means that in a year, 2, 5 years, 10 years even, you will be in a better place financially and by extension mentally, then do it. Sometimes we have to miss out on events and going out in order to stack some paper, and that is a fact, right? when I was doing my degree, I didn't go anywhere because I couldn't afford it. And that's just a fact. I rarely went out. I rarely I would hang with my friends because we would find like cost effective methods to hang out, like do a little cheese sandwich or corned beef sandwich, or stuff like that. You bring the drinks, and those things aren't really that expensive. So then just find cost effective ways and continue to allow yourself that luxury of saving towards what you want to achieve. And so I'm gonna move on to life lessons. My biggest lesson is that for those of you who don't know, I became a mom at 16. I got pregnant with my son at 15 and I delivered him when I was 16 years old. I think I have a story time on that on my channel. I will link it above if you are interested in checking it out. So when I had my son, I was filled with a lot of regret and resentment towards myself, not my child, because I just felt like my life was going to be over. I was young. If it doesn't work out with my child's father, who's going to want this young girl with a child, like a baggage? In my mind, that's what I was thinking. And, I realize now that having my son was necessary. It was necessary for the future that God had planned out for me, and it was necessary for the path that I would take in order to achieve my goals and become the woman I am today. So I feel as if I never had him, I would have maybe, I don't know, I'm just assuming because I don't know what life would have been without him, but I just feel as if I would have probably gone on a different path, or I'm not gonna say a bad path, because I've always had my head on my shoulders, which is why I was so disappointed when I got pregnant so young. But God knew what he was doing and he gave me for a reason, and that has led me up to this point in my life and the woman that I have become today. Other life lessons that I've learned is that life is too short to focus on negativity, negative energy, and negative people. As I mentioned earlier, protect your space and protect your energy. You need to cut out those bad, if it's somewhere you're going that has a bad vibe or a bad energy, you need to stop going there. If it's a friend or a family member or a spouse or anyone that is in your life that is negatively impacting on your emotions and your mental health and just your entire vision as a person, you need to just not be around that person, right? So yeah, that's all the lessons that I have for you guys today. Is there anything that is that I mentioned that is similar to you? Are you in your 30s? What are your thoughts about being in your 20s, and what lessons have you learned or you wish you had known when you were in your 20s? I would love to hear them down in the comment section so that we can have a conversation. Yeah, so as usual guys, thank you so much for stopping by today. Thank you so much for being here with me. Thank you so much for your support, and yeah, subscribe if you have not yet subscribed, enable all post notification, and I will see you in another video.